Now at Zero Block 30, privileged to have Sergeant Brendan VanDalinda on the show. He is a machine gunner. He is an active duty Marine who just re-enlisted. And last night he was up at Foxborough Stadium in Massachusetts to enjoy a Patriots game for his beloved Patriots. And he got a little bit more than he bargained for in terms of social media. And we'll get into that a little bit. But I want to start off and just ask, you just got back in 2017 on a mission to Syria. Can you walk us through kind of how that went for you guys?
Yeah, so we participated in we were there in support of Operation Inherent Resolve, and that was the mission to, defeat the Islamic State or ISIS. And we were there by their proclaimed caliphate, or like their capital of Raqqa, Syria. And we did operations that basically throughout that 6 or 7 months that we were there on that deployment, we cleared out like probably 80% of that city in conjunction with other units and everybody doing their piece of the puzzle. We were able to clear out that city of the Islamic State there and help the Syrian people out.
So we have a good portion of civilian listeners. Can you kind of walk through what a day-to-day life is for an NCO of machine gunners? Like what's your day-to-day task?
So if we're sitting, are you talking like back home or
in Syria?
So I was a Lance Corporal then, but
so you're just carrying heavy shit.
Yeah, I was pretty much just carrying my shit around. I was filling a lot of sandbags, standing a lot of posts. That was really what I did. We we had our funny stories from over there and our crazy stories, but the sergeants are more in charge of the bigger overall picture, control of the squad, controlling everybody. And my job as a machine gunner is a little bit different because we're kind of there to support and make sure that the other guys can move around so that we can provide them fire so that they have the cover to move. And the sergeants who are in charge, which is stuff I do now, is they're in charge of making sure all that stuff happens. So
now, with you being a guy on the ground in 2017 when shit was really, really bad in Syria, do you follow the news and like what happens and feel a little bit more personally invested? Like I know I did that when I came home from Fallujah. I would watch, and if any news article mentioned Fallujah, I was going to read that. Are you that way as well?
Yeah, I definitely feel that way, especially with it being in the news so much recently. It definitely is a touch more personal, and I try to stay as read up on it as I can to kind of keep myself involved. And it's a nice way of me like bringing myself back there too sometimes.
Yeah,
to
no doubt.
like what's going on over there.
Yeah, it's tough to keep up and like know which side is telling the truth because the media is the way that the media is for sure. But you came back from your deployment in 2017, and then you got some news that most Marines on active duty don't anticipate getting. Can you explain to us what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was on another deployment to Okinawa, Japan, and we did a bunch of missions over there, like different training missions and stuff like that.
It's a beautiful area.
Beautiful. We had just gone back from the Philippines, and we were doing some training with the Filipino Marines down there who are fighting their own war against ISIS on their home turf. So best of luck to all those guys. They're all great. And, I came back, and it was a lot of days in the hot sun, and I had what's called hematuria. I'm not a doctor. I don't fucking know. But it's basically when you're pissing blood. So yeah. I started pissing blood, and it lasted for, a good amount of times. And it was something that happens sometimes from, carrying a lot of weight, and it just happened. So it wasn't something that surprised me a crazy bit at first.
And how fucked up is that?
Like, I know, right?
Just like, oh, pissing blood. This is normal shit. Like, this is part of my life.
You tell someone, and then Gunny in the background's like, I've been pissing blood for years.
If you're not pissing blood, you're not working hard enough, devil dog.
Exactly. So I go and get myself checked out. And, they told me, like, drink more water. I hope you're not beating off too much. Like, that might be it, which was ridiculous. So I thought nothing of it. And then a few months later, it started to come back again. And this time it was much worse. And I got checked out. They
But you
saw
took it
that
a little step, because we had, just for full disclosure, we had to record this interview twice because my audio was fucked up. But you got the information from your original set of doctors at like your normal corpsman, your normal PCM, and then you were in sergeant's course and you took it upon yourself. You realized this isn't something that's normal. I need to go outside the normal steps of getting things done, which is rare for Marines to do.
Yeah, I kind of figured that it was with what it was. You know, I
When you start messing with your dick, yeah.
Yeah, I like my dick. I'd like to keep it. So I wanted to make sure that whatever the fuck was going on down there was something that you know, I could take care of. And when I figured that it was probably something that was out of my control, I made sure that I went and got seen. And the doctors that I had, probably not by probably not by their own fault. They probably didn't think it was a huge deal, just like I didn't think it was a huge deal. But I ended up going and making sure that I got seen at the Naval Hospital by kind of skipping the chain of command a little bit. But, you know, thankfully I did, because it ended up working out that we caught it when we did. And when I got my cystoscopy done, as we like to call it, getting your bore punched, when they you know, no numbing or anything like that. They got to stick a camera down there into your bladder, and there's only one way to get in there, and it's pretty bad. But we got in there, and you know, it was funny. The doctor had the camera in, and I was awake because they don't put you out for shit like that. It's the military. So I'm sitting there, and he's inside my bladder. He's basically got a camera in my dick.
Now, when he tells you what we got to do, are you like, I know that's your primary plan, but we need to have an alternate and a tertiary plan as well. We need to have a different area of attack that we're going to go about this. Let's ambush the bladder instead of going straight through it.
Yeah, so he was like, hey, so this is a non-invasive procedure that we're going to do. And I was like, really?
Through the heart of your dick is non-invasive?
Yeah. Non-invasive, I guess, means no cutting. And I was like, this seems pretty fucking invasive to me, man.
Your dickhead is about as invasive as it gets. Yep.
Have you ever done this? Have you ever gotten this done to yourself?
I wonder if it's kind of like
no,
corpsmen, you know, like corpsmen have to give themselves an IV before they can do it to somebody else. I wonder if it's the same thing with the bladder doctor. You just got to punch your own bore.
Yeah, you got to learn on yourself.
Yeah. So they end up giving you the information, and they say that you have stage 2 cancer, but luckily it is a type that is not going to spread, right?
Yeah, so they said I had a low-grade and non-invasive form of a stage 2 bladder cancer, which, you know, it's very good, and I'm very lucky that it isn't bad. You know, there are so many people who fight this battle against cancer, and they don't have it nearly as easy as I do. You know, when it came to the surgeries that I got and the procedure and the chemotherapy that came afterwards, you know, a lot of those people have to do so many rounds of chemotherapy, and I'm really lucky that I did not have to do as many of that. You know, I feel very, very, very lucky.
Did the doctors mention that because you were in such good shape, because you're a Marine, that it helped like the recovery process as well?
So the crazy thing is, when I had all my tests done and they did my surgeries, they sent everything to Walter Reed because they'd never seen anybody my age with bladder cancer. You know, it's common in men, but it's common in men in like their 40s and 50s. And I'm 24 years old. So it was very shocking to everybody there. And when the doctor told me that it was bladder cancer, it was actually during my cystoscopy. And I was like, okay, great. Can you please take this thing out of me? Then can we talk?
Yeah.
But they were really surprised. And it was something that it was kind of a learning experience for everybody because they had never really seen someone my age get this.
And when you get that, when you get that first diagnosis, are you also thinking, fuck, there goes my career too?
You know, the first thing that came to my head, and this is probably fucked up, but all my buddies screw around with me about my hair, and I'm losing my hair. Like I'm balding.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, I'm really going to lose my hair now. But yeah, it was surreal. I didn't really know how to react. And my buddies who were around me during those couple weeks, like I got to thank them so much for being there, and my family for being there. My buddies, we call ourselves the Chum Bucket. It's funny. We're a group of hoodlums, but we got each other's back, and it's awesome. I got to thank them so much. But
now, do you think
surreal.
when you get back to that unit, you get back to the Chum Bucket, they're going to roast you about what happened last night in Foxborough?
I probably had 80 text messages in the first 10 minutes of that.
All right, so let me set the scene how this sergeant got on ZBT's radio, first of all. So he goes up to get honored at the game. They have him out there before the game in his dress blue, standing in the rain, looking good with a fresh haircut. He's doing all that stuff. He gets gifted some tickets to the Super Bowl, which I'm sure is going to be dope down in Miami. Maybe we can get you into Rough and Rowdy too, like come out and hang out with us at Rough and Rowdy at our party there.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But then you're standing on the sidelines. Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, is trying to run out the last 5 seconds on the clock. And then what happens?
So, it's funny. Me and my buddy were talking. They had just run the ball the other way a couple plays before. And I was like, they're going to throw it over here, I bet. Wouldn't that be funny? And he ended up throwing the ball over there. And, I got a late read on the ball. And I'm not I wasn't too good of a football player to begin with when I did play. So, of course, I got a late jump too. And I gave it my all, and, the ball hit my hands. I should have caught it, but I just
And I like how you're not putting out – that's the typical sergeant of machine gunners attitude. You didn't throw out any excuses. You didn't mention the fact that you're standing there in dress blues, which is a restricted uniform. You can barely move your arms when you're wearing those things above your head. You can't move them out. You're not mentioning the fact that you're wearing core frames, which are slick on the bottom. You can't even hardly stand on concrete, let alone grass that's been wet for the entire day. And you went out there, and now you're trying to go out on social media and make it happen again. I think Tom Brady's going to give in, and I think he's going to give you a shot.
That would be so cool. It's funny. I got the chance to meet him after the game, and it was a really short meeting. He came over and shook my hand and said, "Thank you for your service." And, I was shell-shocked to even be in the presence of the greatest of all time. So I shook his hand back, and I said, "Thank you." And then, Edelman came over and talked for a little bit. And he was so great, but I mentioned to him, I said, Tom threw that ball and I dropped it. And he started laughing, and he made a joke about just getting my reps in or something like that. But it was really cool, and hopefully maybe I'll get a chance to redeem myself and maybe have a game of catch with Tom.
There you go. If anybody knows about dropping a big pass from Tom Brady, it's Julian Edelman. Right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm trying to help myself out here, not make my chances more slim.
I'm glad to hear that that you re-enlisted in the Marine Corps. You got another 4 years to go. Thank you so much for your service, dude, and taking the time to join us today, man. We really appreciate it.
Hey, man, thank you guys for your service too. And I'm a huge fan of the podcast, and I look forward to listening to this episode.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep. Thank you, guys.